All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Emily, and I have the sacred and divine honor today of bringing together these amazing, beautiful women for a little roundtable chat. And this can be a real casual chat, but we're going to be speaking about kind of where things are at right now on the planet. We are all intuitive mediums, psychics, channelers, cosmic way showers. We work with energy and clients, and we're here just wanting to share a little bit of our what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, and just what we have to share as guidance or support for anybody who is kind of, like undergoing the changes that we're experiencing right now, personally and globally on the planet. And we're talking mostly about the ascension process, the ascension journey, transitioning from where we are now into the new earth energies, and what that journey has been like, is like, and what we're kind of moving into and towards. So I'm here with Jayaleigh Bowen, Tara Antler, Rachel Shoniker, Amanda Martin, Vanessa Petronelli, Rose Madeleine, and Katya Williams. And we're all very happy to be here today. And we're just going to basically hop into some topics, and I'll let everyone just introduce themselves and just share a little bit about what kind of work they do. And then, we'll jump into some good stuff. So does anyone want to start with just a little intro? Or who wants to start, I should say?
Do you want to choose according to your grid, Emily?
Okay, sure. That's a good idea. See, some people are very experienced here. Okay, Rachel, how about you start us off?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Shoniker, and I'm an intuitive energy healer and a clairvoyant. So I help people reveal and release anything that is weighing them down, anything that's preventing them from feeling their best. So that includes childhood trauma, negative beliefs, ancestral energies that have been carried down, past life betrayals and fears. So all kinds of stuff. As probably all of you, I work with people all over the world, which is amazing. And I feel like the core of what I do is the passion really behind it is helping people remember that magnificence within them, right? So helping them come back into that place that is truly who they are, right? That light within them. So that's what really feeds me and fuels me. And that's the purpose, really, the intention of the work that I do.
Excellent, thank you. And I've worked with pretty much everybody here. Yep, other than Vanessa maybe, but I've worked with everyone here, and I could really say how powerful and beautiful and amazing everyone is. So thanks for sharing that, Rachel. Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Petronelli. I provide intuitive guidance, energetic support, and I do trance channeling work with the Pleiadian guides. And I basically work with conscious entrepreneurs, coaches, healers. I've worked with people in Hollywood. I help them to design the solutions for a new earth. And more recently, the body of work that's been coming in since 2020 started is really helping people through these spiritual deaths and rebirths. So many people are going through massive upheaval in their businesses and their lives. And this beautiful framework has been gifted to me from the divine to help people to move through that. So that's kind of the basis of my work. And yes, like all of you, it's helping people to remember the magnificent being that they are, and to be in this journey of designing these solutions for New Earth in a place of joy and aliveness. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I do.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem.
Rose. Oh, you're muted, hun. Oh, no.
Hi, I'm Rose, and I'm not great with technology. I live in Vancouver, and what do I do? Every morning I wake up and I let God guide me. I'm a mother. I homeschool or unschool my two children that are 11. I have an 11-year-old son that's on the autism spectrum and a 7-year-old girl. And they have really been the portal to my awakening. And we live a beautiful life filled with joy. And I feel like being of service, of actualizing yourself and who you are in your community is the greatest gift that you can give. And I focus on that first and foremost as my reason for being here, especially being in the downtown core of a very busy city that seems to be the eye of a storm that we're in right now. So as far as what I do, it's just being and that. In terms of what I do with clients, I do a lot of probably what the other women do. I just like to be a reminder and point people back to themselves. And that's I guess the simple answer of it. But
yeah. You have the intuitive gifts, and you work with energy and see energy and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rose. And Amanda.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda. I always have a really difficult time labeling myself, to be honest. I'm going to go with a trauma-informed coach and energy healer. I specialize in narcissistic abuse, but I'm not limited to that. It just seems to be the people I draw in. But I feel like my ultimate purpose of this is to help people come back to who they came here to be. We come in with this essence that never changes, which is completely different from energy. Our energy changes all the time, but our essence never does. And I feel like it's really hard for us to see our own brilliance. And so coming back to ourselves in that way, to become the person we came here to be, and look at the parts that we've created to protect ourselves with curiosity, and not with shame. So I guess that's in a nutshell what I do. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. All right, Jaya.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jayaleigh. I love this so much because I would guess that we all basically have a very similar mission and just use our tools and experiences to help people get there. But very similarly, I'm a channel, and I use energy work, master alignment, and sacred activations to help deprogram and unwind us from our deepest core wounds that are held in the cells. So that have been passed down ancestrally, collectively, and personally, past lives, and all of that fun stuff. For many years I focused on the clearing, and still do, but what's coming through is it's now all about really being, right? And so there's a lot of activating going on, and upgrading of DNA, and really really recognizing that our purpose is just to be our very own unique frequency. And it's so interesting, how many years it can sometimes take for us to get there, or even, see a preview of what that is. So very much like the others, just allowing people to be all that they are, and enjoy it, and really, really enjoy it. Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. Katya.
Hello, everybody. And I just love hearing the common thread between all of us. So my name is Katya Williams. I too struggle with kind of identifying what I do, but I'll do my best. I guess I serve at this time as a teacher, a guide, conduit for higher dimensional consciousness. I'm the creator of something called the One Shift Method and the Awakening Eden mentorship program that I bring people through. And my role, I suppose, at this time is really about providing what feels like real initiatory containers and curriculums that can push the envelope of our human awareness, and something that has been with me probably most of my life is a passion for deprogramming the mind. And with that, I think, as most of us are doing, is activating a remembrance of oneness consciousness. And what I strive to do is give people the tools and really an embodied experience that they can take with them and then really redefine their life. And together, my goal for myself, but for all of us that I work with, and I think what we're all here to do, especially today, is this discussion of new earth. And through the work that I do, is helping bring the remembrance back to those who are on this path, and give them the tools and kind of the practical knowledge that they need to really recreate their lives in that way, to align with the new earth template. That's kind of a nutshell.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, Tara.
Hi. Yeah. So I would classify myself these days as many, many things, but officially an intuitive healer and a soul coach. And I've been doing what I call this non-work for 20 years. And one of the things that I love most still to this day, 20 years later, is really helping people move through all that. I call it the ick and the stick, that stuff that just doesn't serve us anymore, that needs to clear out, and then really be able to connect to the highest, most expanded version of who we are. And not just connect to it, but really be able to ground it, bring it in, bring it down, actualize it, create a life that feels exceptionally awesome and amazing and beautiful and brilliant. And I'm a mama to 3 little ones. So Arya is going to be 6 soon. And we have twin boys who are now 3.5. So you're probably going to hear some thunder sounds above because Gabriel took them upstairs. And my husband and I, we recently, when the twins were born, the higher call was to actually join our businesses, because he's also an intuitive healer and a spiritual teacher. And so we joined our businesses together and created the Academy of Light. And so we've been, working with clients all around the world, thousands and thousands of clients, really a lot of light leaders now, and activating and bringing them up and getting them ready, because it feels like everybody's being called up to serve and called up to service. And it's such a beautiful time to be able to do that and to, just really bring the light. That's what I feel is happening in every talk, in every session. Everything that we're doing is really bringing the light even into the little ones, because we have a lot of families that come into our community and their kids actually ask to put on, like, instead of them watching YouTube or Netflix, their kids come and ask them between ages of 3 to like 12, 14, hey mom, can you put on that show that you were watching with that girl and that guy, where they're talking about spiritual stuff and meditation? They're like, Tara and Gabriel? Yeah, that's it. And so the little ones are asking now, right? Which is exceptional. Like they're asking, it's not being forced upon them. They're asking, which is really cool. And so it's been really fun to hold the space for the little ones coming up too.
Yeah.
And so, that's me in a nutshell.
That's so great. That's interesting that you say that, because my friend Katie and I started doing these regular series and episodes on just like dissolving pain and shame and like the spiritual journey and stuff. And there's a question before you post that says, is this for children or not? And I'm just like, it's not designed for children, but like, I'm thinking, well, it would be good for kids to watch. But yeah, it's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool. Yeah. You never know, right? Who we're serving and who's meant to watch it. That's great.
Yeah, we had to well, for me, not so much for Gabriel, but for me, I had to stop dropping like the subtle F-bombs every now and then, because all these little ones were listening, and I'm like, so now I'm like making up new words, and so it's really fun.
Oh, that is. Okay. So basically, I'd like to just set like a foundation or premise of where we see things, and where we're at, and how we can like move through what we're experiencing right now, some of the challenges that people might be facing right now. So essentially, we're in an amazing time right now, and it looks a bit bleak. We've spent a lot of time working through or holding the energy, clearing a lot of stuff over the last 2 years, especially. It's been like this really potent kind of crunch time. And we're doing that for the purposes of, like everyone is saying here, like enlightening our bodies, our minds, our spirits, connecting more with our soul essences, bringing that further into like our embodiment and the physical world. Does anyone want to speak a little bit about that process or that journey, or what we're undergoing right now and how you've experienced that, or what you've seen in clients or anybody, you know, in your life around that topic? Go ahead, Tara. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're seeing almost every conversation right now, and even in myself, is this, there's these bursts of energy, like massive bursts of energy, and everybody's like, whoa, and feeling really amazing. And then in the same day, or sometimes the next moment later, a complete drop, and people being like, oh my gosh, what is this now? And so helping people navigate that because a lot of times like the human mind can be like, what's wrong, and what's wrong with me, and what's happening, and what did I do wrong? And it's just the energies, it's like a wave right now. And it's, you know, we're teaching a lot of people how to navigate that wave, but I'm also finding that we're having to soften a lot right now too. Even myself, my body will not allow me to be in certain circumstances, places, conversations, and just kind of saying, no, you need to rest, you need to conserve, you need to go more feminine, which is really interesting because, you know, I have a lot of energy, and a lot of the people we work with have a lot of energy. So we can go and we can, like, as we would say in Northern Ontario here, we can give her, you know, like we can totally go. And lately the energy's just been like, you can go for short stints, but then you have to come back and you have to recalibrate. And it's been very soft and very nurturing, very feminine, soothing, lots of soothing, and a lot of tending to the nervous system. This is something that's been huge across the board for everybody. The nerves are just like feeling everything, picking up on everything. Those that are conscious of it can feel that, sense that, know how to navigate that. But a lot of people right now are like, what the F is going on? And I don't know how to handle this. So we're hearing a lot about anxiety, a lot of tension in the heart, a lot of pressure feeling, and just these waves of like, you know, and so excitement and anxiety, right, are so close to each other. So I think we're birthing. It reminds me when we're birthing babies, right? There's that excitement energy that comes, and you're like, God, like, I don't think I want to do this, right? The contractions come. And so it's like this constant wave, and everybody's flows are different right now. I feel like some are holding like this high wave, and then the others are surfing down here, and then it switches, and it's like everybody, you know, so it's all over the map. That's what we're seeing anyways. It's all over the map.
Yeah, and I can definitely say, like, personally speaking, that I've had similar experiences to that. I was just away at a weekend, a retreat with Katya, and I had, these beautiful moments of, you know, like this clearing of energy and like this beautiful, powerful new energy coming in. And then, the next day it's just like, okay, where did that go? And experiencing like kind of deeply traumatic things that like are really from the past. And that's really coming up strong, and seeing kind of like, interestingly, kind of childhood things coming up, which feel kind of awkward, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but it's like, oh well, why is this coming up? Like, I've done so much work, or I've done this and that, and it's just like, why is this coming up now? And especially after we're doing this like high level intense clearing work for a long time. But my understanding and awareness of all this is that, like, once we get deeper and deeper into our layers of like who we really are, and we melt away those those walls, or that armoring that around our heart and our like most sensitive parts, we're going to start to feel like all the sensitivities and all the things that we've experienced in the past that maybe we weren't able to feel, you know, and just this stuff that's coming up from our deep kind of cellular matrix to be seen, acknowledged, and cleared. So I don't know if anyone, you know, can relate to that, but yeah. Okay. Yeah. Amanda, did you want to say something? Yeah. Or yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I actually took a break from clients just before Christmas, and I haven't actually come back yet because I have been experiencing the highs and lows. And I also felt as a collective, there was such a divisive line, two timelines, which was very uncomfortable. Like you could clearly feel and see two separate timelines, completely different, going on at the same time. While I'm going like this every day, energy shifting so fast. Old stuff has been coming up that it's like, no, you need to look at this at a deeper level now. I began to question all the work I've been doing, you know. I felt like I was going backwards. And I feel like I had to really look at how do I want to show up? Because I did go through a period of like, I'm right, they're wrong. And it's like, no, it's not about who's right or wrong. And that was my own thing. And I had to look it within and say, how do I want to show up? Because I don't want to create more fear or division. And it's not about convincing or right or wrong. And I think the way I'm stepping into this is, you know, there is a collective abusive thing going on right now, which that's my background. And I feel like when people start waking up or they just don't have anywhere to turn, you know, like a lot of trust has been, there's no one's going to know where to go. And I'm going to be like, okay, I'm here now. Are you ready? Right? It's basically, so I wanted to see how I wanted to show up. And it's not about waking people up. It's like whenever they're ready and they need that space, I'm here, the way shower. And, but yeah, I personally had to work through my own ups and downs first.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. Katya, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Just to speak to what you were describing, Em, about that feeling like, okay, we've just been doing our work and getting really deep on things. Why is this new stuff coming up, or stuff that feels like, you know, we've already been there? And what I've found with clients, with myself, and it seems to be across the board because it's just so energetic, is it's like when we begin to refine our own frequency, those little remnants of what might have been very insignificant remainders of a belief system or patterning or programming, what was the size of a pea in terms of how we could feel it, now suddenly feels like a boulder, because there's just that much contrast now between where we are compared to where we were. So the size difference, if you want to put it in like visual terms, is so measurable. It becomes immediately pronounced. And so, you know, if people are asking that question, because it's so natural that as soon as you come from this expansive moment and feeling so high and like, oh my God, connected and free, and then it feels like you can often get the relapse after the high, right? Like the hangover after the high. And that's where it feels like we can get really kind of beat up. But just keeping in mind that, just to offer this, but like keeping in mind that this is a natural kind of swing back of the, what's that thing called that you pull? Slingshot. It's like the other part of the slingshot. So just to be expecting that there will be something. But what I wonder if people, and maybe you guys have noticed this as well, is that when that sort of second wave comes to really do that final sweep and clean up anything that's remaining, it doesn't stick the same way. Often it feels, for me at least, and those that I've been working with, it feels like it comes and it feels like it has weight, and you know, that ickiness. Tara, I like your word icky. But our conscious awareness has expanded now after that most recent expansion or high, that now we are able to really detach a bit more easily from it, it feels, for most folks at least. And we can usually rebound a bit more. So what I find can be really supportive is just to hold that awareness in the beginning, almost not to say expect it, like to bring it on, but just know that this time period is so much about doing that final sweep and cleaning out the cobwebs. So if you do feel like that, in the mind, it's so natural for us. I've done it too, you know, like kind of wondering. I had a moment like that yesterday, last night, and this morning. I was like feeling the weight of like old stuff come up. But it was just that reminding myself and like, oh yeah, I just went through a real expansion moment. So let me just ride this wave through. And that tends to just feel a lot better. So we don't start to second guess all the goodness that we've done, but so relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely definitely feel what you're saying with like it bouncing off or yeah, just bouncing back more easily. And we're talking about these waves of energy, you know, the highs and the lows and everything. Does anyone want to speak about like why that's happening and like where we're at in that process? And like what's that about? What's with all the highs and lows right now?
I can share, I can add on, let's say, a little bit. And Amanda, I completely relate. Like I mentioned earlier before, I think we started recording, that it's just the break sort of. I've been doing like a lot of work, but sort of behind the scenes on myself, on the globe. And I'm just, maybe it's the spring, but just starting to feel like I'm coming back, quote unquote, online with it all. The highs and lows, absolutely. I feel a major difference between 2021 and 2022, huge. So personally, and I'll share it because I know from talking with clients and other friends that people can relate, like 2021 was probably, I would probably call it another dark night of the soul. Like it was, the challenges that came up for me were so excruciating. Like near the beginning of the year, literally crying myself to sleep, like wailing, heaving, like every night almost, it feels like. Yeah, just and mothering and trying to like parent through literally what I would call like talking 3D. I know like this is where I'm going to go with this, like 3D and then 5D, there's something else going on, but I would say like literal war, you know, spiritual, psychological, whatever you want to call it, in this division that we're seeing as well. And so for me, it's been very much in close relationships. That's been the most painful part. And I'm for many others as well, right? And so there's so many layers to that. The Amanda, like what you were saying, kind of for me, it would be like, but why can't you see? Can't you see? Like, I have to be able to see. Like, it almost felt like this force, and it never felt good. Like, I maybe, let's say I'd post something in stories and be like, did that feel good? It's like, it almost felt like a need, right? So then I have to explore that within myself. Like, what is the need? Like, why do I need to feel like I need to prove something or show something? And so, I think with 2022, it's been very much about just relaxing into going with the flow of it. So rather than it being a need or something that I need to force, just kind of being a light. And I don't even mean that in a egoic way. Like I'm a light. I mean, we all are.
Yeah. Being
in my own frequency and trust has been major. So like just, you know, just trusting that we can be. And then in the sort of 5D, I don't even love all these labels or terms, but it's a good way to describe it. It's like this is what's been happening personally, is like, it's an opportunity to explore those deepest wounds, those ones that maybe we've already explored for many years, but then it's like, oh my God, like it's actually deeper, ickier. There's like another level of it. And so it's an opportunity to go even deeper with that and to come into a deeper state of self-acceptance, which I think then ripples out in more acceptance for where everybody's at. You know, and yeah, it's been harsh, man. Like some of the things that are being said, or, you know, it's like, for me, I have to keep reminding myself, like, everybody in this momentous time in the evolution of humanity and probably even beyond that, it's like every soul is playing a role, even if it's the ones where personally I might be like, what, like, ouch, or that's so painful, or that's so wrong, or whatever. It's like, no, it's not wrong. They're actually playing a role and serving, you know, even if we want to use the terms of like awake or asleep, like serving to wake up, even though it might seem like the energy is that particular energy is very asleep. It's actually that might trigger someone else to snap out of it, or to wake up, or to come home. So it has absolutely been this dance. And I personally feel, even I've had moments of like, no, I'm fully optimistic, again, to label like this higher energy is going to prevail. But I've absolutely had moments where it's like, oh my God, but this could happen. Okay, it will prevail, but what if this happens first? And how long is it going to take? And so I think I've really felt collectively like, yeah, there's more crap is going to be thrown at us for sure. We're going to need to do this. But I really feel in my heart that there has been more of a mass awakening, so that if those things, keep trying again, it's like, it's almost not going to work this time. And so as challenging as this dark night of the soul has been for me, it's like such an honor, like, holy crap, like what an honor that I get to be here for it. Even though at times I'm like, I just like, I've actually said, like, beam me up. Can you just beam me up? It's done. Like, I've put in the work, like I've done it. Like, I felt battle weary. It's like, beam me up. It's like, no, like, no, it's actually profoundly beautiful. It's profoundly beautiful. And the pain is profoundly beautiful. And so it really has been this roller coaster and wave and all of those things that we said, and really like dancing with myself. And it's okay. It's okay not to show up. It's okay to take that break. It's okay to feel this way. And then the lesson is like allowing that for other people too. Like, so for me, it's been like trying not to judge, not to make it right or wrong. And so it's always personal and collective, right? It's always this like micro and macro thing going on every single time. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's important to share. Like, even, those of us who have been doing this work for a long time, those of us maybe in quote unquote leadership positions, working with people and clients and stuff like that, like, that's part of why we can be in those roles, is because we walk through the fire. We allow ourselves to get burned, we allow ourselves to be incinerated by the fire, and then we rise again out of that and into more of who we really are. And that is, in a sense, like, even that journey is just that is a leadership journey. It is setting a tone or a template for what we need to do as a collective. And we all, well, not we all, but a lot of us need to do that in order to clear the space and create the clear and pure foundation for, what we're moving towards, which is the new earth. Because, something Katya always says is like, our ego, we can't create the new earth from when we have our egos, essentially, because our egos will destroy anything good that we create, and its influence will, it will it will create drama, essentially. And that's not really what we're doing with the new earth. So does anyone want to talk about, like, I want to kind of touch on the energy of 2022, because I think that's important. And also want to talk about like what the visions are for the new earth, and like what we're feeling with that, and how we're kind of in this dark space right now on the planet, so to speak, and how that's serving us to get to the new earth, or to move through what we need to move through in order to create the frequencies for the new earth. So does anyone want to jump in about that? Vanessa, did you want to say something? Okay.
First of all, I just want to say I deeply resonate with what everybody's been saying, and it feels also very comforting. Like, I trust my process, I trust my divine plan, but it's very comforting to hear from other powerful women in this space who are going through similar experiences, because it has felt very discombobulating at times and very disorienting. And those highs and those lows are just happening really frequently. So I will say this, when it comes with the energy of like 2022 and just what we've been kind of going through and what I see, because my work is about designing the solutions with my clients for a new earth, but it's less about the designing solutions right now. And it's more about this inward piece. And, What I've really been seeing is we have just a massive projection on a collective level of pointing fingers at, well, if this, government or this institution, or if they weren't so corrupt, like, it's a lot of pointing and a lot of blaming. And it's really about looking at the collective dark shadow that we're in right now and processing that within ourselves. And I'm seeing that happening so deeply for my clients. Like, even though they've been doing a lot of work, they've been processing a lot of their traumas, that, they've been engaged in their self-work for many years, in their spiritual work. There's really like just this deep need to see where we're still giving our power away to outside authorities, and to really get in this space. It's less about clearing. And I agree with you ladies on this. It's not about the clearing. It's about the holding and allowing for all of it, and really starting to come into this deep forgiveness and divine compassion and love, really reparenting, I always say, the inner child, reparenting these wounded parts that are literally just healing to come home. They want to be reintegrated. They want to be heard, because so much of what we're experiencing right now, and I think what we're getting blasted with over and over again, is hijacking that amygdala, and it's keeping us in this survival and this fight or flight. And when we're in that all the time in our nervous systems, Tara, I do a lot of work on the nervous system, so I hear you on that. When we're being blasted with frequencies, with narratives that are keeping us hijacked in this fear state, what does that do? It keeps us disempowered. Mm-hmm. So for, I think, the collective, and for a lot of my clients and for myself, it's really about less about the us versus them, the division, the separation, this polarization we're seeing. And it's more about, well, how can we get back into our own power? How can we stop blaming and saying, these are the bad people, they're doing the wrong things, and actually start to take that and go more deeply inward to our own wounds and aspects of ourselves that are still separated from the one, that are still not being loved and cared for, and really coming into this like unity and harmony with that, but in a practical way. Like, I have found that a lot of things that I've judged myself, because I have felt pretty inward for months. I moved from Southern California at the end of October to Nashville. And I'm also Canadian. So I'm tracking what's happening back home. I'm tracking what's happening in this country. I have family in Europe. It's just been like, last year I spent so much of that year, like you, Jaya, like crying, just angry, like primal rage. I never knew that I had so much rage inside of my body, and it felt ancestral. Mm. And I was in a lot of like almost like a kind of like a PTSD, almost like a trauma loop last year. And the energies in California were really intense for me. And so coming here has been just this unwinding and this permission giving to myself of, you don't need to be out into the world. You don't need to be creating. You don't need to know what's next. Just be present, just be in the moment. And every step is going to be given to you like piece by piece. And the processing is happening, I would say, a lot faster now as well. So I know I'm kind of a little bit all over the place with my answer here, but I really feel like it's a really important time still, especially this year, of really getting back into our power, getting back into our inner authority, and starting to learn how to really discern through our bodies and our intuitions of what's real and what's not, because we are being blasted with so much right now that it's hard to sift through and hard to know what to trust. But the real trust has to start within here. And we have to stop placing the blame and pointing fingers, because there's always three coming back at us. We have to be willing to go into that dark shadow and hold more of these parts of ourselves than we ever have before. Because I really feel like that's going to have a dramatic impact on what's happening collectively. I have more to say, but I'll stop there because I don't want to take over.
No, that's amazing. That's
go for hours on this. I love this stuff.
Yeah. All important points. So thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
And Rachel, did you want to something to say?
Vanessa, when you were talking about that primal rage right now, I was just like covered in goosebumps. I was like, I've definitely experienced that. Absolutely. And you just saying it just kind of reminded me of a few key moments where I was like, whoa, where did that just come from? It was just like, it was just like from the depths of me. But, you know, as you know, it's obviously that needs to come out. That needs to come out too. So a couple of things. I find a lot of the last 2 years really fascinating. I mean, there's been some really dark moments, but it's also been extremely fascinating to witness. And when we look at like the micro and the macro, or like the individual and the collective, it blows me away to see how what my clients or I'm going through will be mirroring in some way what the collective is going through. So for example, I feel like certainly in the last year, or this year and last year, what I refer kind of to the darkness, meaning just kind of the ego crap, right? Like all the energies on the planet that were our greed, corruption, deception, dominating over others, submission, oppression, like trauma, like all of this really, really big kind of what I just refer to as the darkness, not to try to make it bad, just that it just is, has been rising up in a way, and we've all felt it, we've all seen it, has been rising up in a way that has been very uncomfortable, right? We've witnessed some leadership and others and saying and doing and things that we never, you know, born in this country. I mean, I've traveled the world, I've lived in Russia, I've lived in Ukraine, I've lived in places that are not, you know, not perhaps similar to Canada, but, you know, growing up in this country, we thought, oh, Canada, you know, it's so pure, and you have these beliefs, right? And so I feel like it's been really purposeful for us to see all of the shit that is not in alignment with love, really just coming up. And just like, you know, even my kids are just like, my 11-year-old is really sensitive. She's like, oh my gosh, like she's so aware of it and she can feel it. And then on the individual level, you were talking about stuff coming back up for us, or it feels like it's like my clients were like, I thought I was past this. I thought I was, you know, I dropped that ego facade, or I had, you know, loved the shit out of that ego persona and healed it. And here it is again, right? Mm. And so it's really interesting. I think it was Tara that was saying it's like no, it was Katya that was saying it was like a remnant. And I almost see it as like with some people like this kind of ego kind of monster that's behind them, right? It's just like lurking behind them. And it's not as big. I think it was Katya saying this. It's not as big or scary or dark or as entrenched as it used to be. Mm. But it feels like it's bigger because just like all this crap is rising up collectively, all of our last stuff, or I'm hoping it's coming close to the end, it's kind of like, you know, and it's like, I had a client who was at a retreat like you, not the same one, but, and she called me the day after the retreat. She's like, I need help. And it was literally like her ego was like a snake that was like wrapped around her and was just like taking her down. And it was fascinating because she had gone from this beautiful high to what she felt like was this low, but it was just, from the way I saw it, it was just like her old stuff just really now trying to take her down, right? Mm. And so, but it didn't take much to free that and then kind of come back into that place of alignment again. Mm. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's really, really great to understand as like a personal thing and a collective thing, right? Because right now on the collective, it looks really dark. Like it looks like that snake has got its, like it's wrapped around everything and it's taking everything down. But I know that that's not the case. And I think Katya Williams might have something to say about that. So what happens when it looks dark? It looks
exactly.
dark. Yeah.
It's just an illusion. Don't worry. But in all seriousness, no. It is really cool what I've been witnessing and seeing as I feel like I've been sitting kind of in the bleachers for a lot of what's been going on. Not intentionally, but just feeling like I've really just been keeping my head down, trying to just like, okay, what's the latest? Okay, got it. And then going back to work. I'm sure many of us here have probably had something similar, but definitely 2021, I think we could probably all agree, was very much about creating this bifurcation, right? Like this separation, like you're on this side and you're on this side. It started out with so much confusion. What's going on? Oh my God, is this good? Is this wrong? Once we figured out kind of the rules of the game, so to speak, at that point, then it was like, okay, whose side are you on? Like, where are you? And then 2022 has very much been this shift that I've noticed anyways, where it's not so much just about the bifurcation now, but now we're finally seeing, you could say, like a bifurcation within those two sides, but ultimately this collapsing, slowly collapsing back into unity, where people are now on this side starting to understand and appreciate why the people on this side maybe feel so passionately. And so there's this beautiful thing that's emerging through consciousness collectively, where it's definitely this greater understanding that is emerging. So even though, you know, I may feel this way about mandates or vaccines or whatever the case it may be, we are starting to understand why the other people on the other side may feel just as strongly. And that has been such a powerful shift to witness collectively, and then also seeing it within each other, like probably seeing in like family dynamics and whatnot. I know we've seen that in our household where, you know, it shifted from 2021, where it's like, oh my gosh, they don't get it, to then just sort of relaxing into, okay, they're not going to, and they're still really passionate and they're still really wanting the best for their families or for themselves, etc. And what I found really interesting too, just kind of like on the energetic or astrological side of things, is that it was really February where we hit this phase that was actually the real birthing point of the Aquarian age, this golden age that we've been talking about. It wasn't 2020, right? That was like the buildup, the lead up, but energetically and cosmically, it really took place in February. So between February 22nd, between February 2nd and the 22nd, those stargates, there was this beautiful window where, my God, there was so much that was coming up. But it created this opportunity for us to settle into literally the new coordinates of New Earth and really let those anchor in. There was a lot of kind of recoiling. I think so many people here talked about that and feeling like you just don't want to be outward as much, moving forward things. It was so much about this inward. And then Emma, you may have remembered feeling this when we were talking over the weekend, but on Sunday was another amazing turning point where, and I'm not an astrologer, but I just have a real appreciation for the cosmic alignments and how they really do influence and sort of give us signs of what's happening collectively. But on the 6th, which was Sunday, we had Venus and Mars both at 0 degrees Aquarius. And of course, the Venus and the Mars is the masculine and feminine energies. And what that really did, which could be part of the reason why so many of us have felt so activated since that day, is it was forcing energetically, in a sense, you could say, the realignment of the masculine feminine energies, and especially anything that's coming up as not in alignment with New Earth. So that masculine force of, I think it was Rachel, you mentioned like the domination or the forced submission of feminine expression, etc. All of that stuff, if it's present now, oh my God, it's going to be uncomfortable because there's just no room for that moving into this new template, which is now officially present and anchored in. So that's a big piece that I'm noticing, is anywhere there where it's within us, including the feminine, you know, if we're out of alignment with the masculine and feminine harmonic, which is really time to come back into one and not be so polarized as it has been, because that is not a natural expression, then we're going to see it come up. So it's been a beautiful more wave, right? But really moving into this new energy and forcing things up, but forcing things into a harmonized expression. And on the way, it has been a little disruptive, but it's definitely part of the plan. So that feels good. And it does feel good to know, because for me, that there's all the coordinates are in place. So all the ducks are in a row, all the pieces have been locked in place. Now it's just about, getting everyone to kind of line up, and then we march forward. And until that happens, there's a little bit of a scatter, but we're all getting there. So yeah, it's been a really cool time these first few months.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to answer this question, thanks, Katya. What would you tell people who are like struggling, who are like, I'm tired, like I can't go on with this anymore, like you were saying, Jaya, like I'm battle weary, it's like they're they're just like, I can't take any more of this stuff. It's just one thing after another, and like I thought that this stuff would be over by now, and and now there's just like more intensity and more fear and all this stuff and more this or that, and so what would you say to somebody who's kind of in that state of mind right now?
I can answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
I feel that when I'm weary, I just connect back into my source and remember who I am and why I came. And awakening isn't for the faint of heart, and it's not meant to be easy. And although we know the outcome, there is the process to go through. And when you're in service to God, it doesn't matter. Like I know I came here as a warrior for this awakening, like I have many lifetimes, and it's a privilege and an honor to witness and hold these grids. And there's certain people that are activated in this moment to remember that. And then there's other people that aren't, and there will be a transition point. And I think that that's okay too. If you're tired, it's okay to want to go home, and there's no right or wrong in that decision. It's all divine. We're all designed to wake up at different times or not. But I just find that when you connect into yourself, then there is no more fear. There is no more lack. There is no more any of that energy. So to remove yourself from the distortions of media or other humans, in order to get back into that space where you can feel your own truth, because only you can connect back into your heart, will allow you to feel that safety in your body, no matter what is in the external world around you. And that's how you do, right?
Yeah. And there's many different ways of doing that. Sorry, somebody was going to say something?
Oh, no, please finish. I was just going to add something, but
yeah, no, go ahead.
Now I have to remember, but God, I love that, Rose. So listening to everybody, and a big thing that's coming up is this word acceptance. And again, I always like speaking through my experience, but also what I'm witnessing and feeling. And I don't know if some of us will know like the gene keys. I'm not going to go fully into it, but there's everybody has a hologenetic profile of these things that were channeled through, called gene keys. My life's work gene key is 25. So each key has like a shadow, a gift, and then the city, like the ultimate potential of the expression of it. And so I just was thinking of this, listening to everybody. So the shadow of that one is constriction. And so that was what I was in 2021, just felt like so like constricted and tension. And then so moving through that to the gift is acceptance. And that's what I just keep hearing. And it's like, and when we talk about like coming home to ourselves and then recognizing that this person is where they're at here, and that's okay. Like, so for me now, the path is like, that's actually okay. I don't have to do anything with that. And in fact, it might be disempowering for them, for me to think, oh, you should be over here, right? So when you're talking about like how, the new earth and how do we move forward, it's like a big part of it for me is like actually letting go and like accepting that it's like, it's okay. Like some of us are going to and I don't want to say it in a judgmental hierarchical way, but it's like some of us are going to be moving into this, and it's okay that some are going to, you know, stay here or choose this. And it's actually not up to anybody to decide what's right for another soul or what their timeline is or when that's going to happen. So that's the acceptance part for me, and as well as self-acceptance. And I know like all the very painful challenges and wounds that came up for me actually really helped me step into the strongest, I would say even like lightest version of myself. Like, I mean, thank God for memes, right? The memes and the humor really have really helped me too, right? So it's like when I'm being really serious, like I reminding myself to like see the sort of like ridiculousness as well, you know, not that some things don't need to be looked at or dealt with, but, and then just to go back to that gene key, just to use it, like the city is universal love. So like I'm moving through the constriction, the trying, the forcing, the wishing, the wanting it to be something it isn't, to acceptance really brings us to the highest vibration, which is this unity seen, and that has been so beautiful. And to see you know, other souls that are maybe not in that yet, it really feels, that frequency feels so constricted, whereas the other one feels very expansive. The unity and the love. So I think that's it. Just like, you know, it, and choice is there too, right? So just choosing to move what direction you want to be in without like judging the other direction, or the other frequency, has been what I'm seeing in terms of moving toward the new earth. And then so with somebody facing those challenges, it would be like just the acceptance piece. Like, it's actually okay how you're feeling. It's actually okay that you feel like you're in a different space than someone else. And then finally just really, really recognizing and knowing that you were so not alone. So not alone. Like so many. So for me, this idea of family, like, and soul family has been a big one too. Like, I know, Emily, I've come into your inbox a few times with some long voice messages, and it's like, because it's like the soul fam has been, as much as there's been loss, or this like this, you know, seeming loss, there's been like so much beauty and so much connection actually come in. So it's okay to just be you and own it all, because yeah, it's gonna repel, but it's also going to attract what actually feels so much more aligned.
Definitely. Yeah. I can honestly, say that I've had those experiences over the last 2 years too. And it's just amazing, because when you do, I mean, I think that we're setting the beginning energetic template for the new earth, right? It's that unity consciousness, it's that heart open consciousness. And when you come together with somebody who's also in that heart space, in that unity consciousness field, then we kind of connect on this really beautiful, deep level. It's just like you vibe with somebody on that open heart level, and there's an instant like knowing of that person and as that soul, you know. And those are the types of relationships and connections that are building the new earth, that will be experienced in the new earth. And we're doing that now. And I think that's what Amanda was saying, like there's these two paths kind of running parallel, right? There's choice. And one of my teachers, I love this, she always says player's choice, right? It's like there's always these options, and we get to choose what line of energy do we want to travel upon. And it's same as like higher self or ego, right? God or ego. It's like there's always those two options available, and everything we do can be considered a choice, and there's bigger choices and smaller choices, but essentially, you know, yeah, it does. I love what you said about the acceptance piece. That is important, because like if there's any resistance to anything, then, you know, we're not really in alignment with that heart open unity consciousness, energetic. And that stuff is and has been coming up to be cleared from our consciousness and field, so that we can kind of be bigger than all of that. And like Katya was saying, like, you know, this polarization will essentially cancel itself out. It's going to, you know, it's going to move back into those harmonized, organic kind of unified fields of expression. And that's basically what we're doing. And I would say that's the reason for all the ups and downs and highs and lows, right? We're literally riding these huge waves until it starts to like even itself out, and we move up into a higher octave of experience. And that's essentially like where the new earth kind of exists, right? It's all because we're speaking more energetically. And so as each one of us does that work within ourselves to come into that alignment and that acceptance, and clearing the stuff that's keeping us from that heart open expansiveness state, then we can start building that for everybody, and that's kind of how it's going to ripple out into the collective. And then we'll create, like, even this group here, we're creating a coherent energetic field, right? And so that keeps building on itself and rippling out, and that's kind of what we're up to. Rachel, do you want to say something?
So much of what everybody's saying is resonating. It's kind of funny because I'm raising my hand, but by the time it gets to me, there's like a billion other things that are coming.
I know. Yeah.
So speaking of, this transition to the new earth, I think that what's helped me to understand is that, and the way that we're able to perhaps do this might be different than from other people, but being able to kind of get into that space where we can see the big picture, right? Where we can be the detached witness, right? Rising out and being the detached witness and being able to witness what's playing out on the earth. And obviously all of the women here would be able to get into that space. And I guess what I'd like to share with people who are watching, not so much with the other intuitives, but is the understanding that as dark and hairy and smelly and gross as this stuff is felt, because it literally has a texture, it has a smell, a funk, right? Like all this old kind of, all the stuff that's been coming up that's so uncomfortable for us to witness. There has been and is growing so much more light on this planet. And it's mind-blowing sometimes to me when I tuned in 2 years ago, the light, and tuning in, last week, the amount of light, it's amplified, right? It's bigger, it's brighter, it's bigger, it's brighter. Oh, I'm just getting goosebumps saying it. And it's so beautiful because you, me, all of us, and all of those who are like coming back into our truth and going, no, this is what feels right to me, right? This is what feels good to me. I'm going to focus on what makes me feel good. I'm going to create. I'm going to get into that flow of creating. Right? What can I bring to this planet that's of source, that is of divine, right? And getting into that flow of creation, or being in nature, or whatever, or community, like the last speaker just said, is like this, creating these beautiful soul tribes where they feel like soul families, and all of that is bringing us into our light, into a higher vibration. And as we're collectively doing that, the light on the planet is just like amplified, amplified, amplified. And I think this is where my faith comes from, is because from what I see is the light is beginning to infiltrate those old, decrepit, dark, broken buildings that are structures and systems on the planet they're collapsing, they're slowly breaking down. And they're breaking down because from what I'm seeing, the foundation is rooted in fear, power over, ego, greed, corruption, all this stuff. And so as we rise, we have no use for this anymore, right? It can't sustain itself. And so I think that's an important thing for people who are watching, is just to be like, okay, it feels dark, it feels hard, but there is more light, right? There is more people coming together in authenticity. There is more unity, like you were saying, coming together in these heartfelt ways. And I think it's helpful to find those people, right? Who in your life is that person who you can go to and just be yourself. Be with them, talk to them. Who in your life does it feel good to be around, right? So I feel like, for people listening, is just to understand that, as much as it feels sometimes that we're on this journey alone, right? Because it can feel that way, that we are not alone. We have each other, but also we are, we have all these beautiful guides, and we have angels and spirits, and we're so supported. And I feel like, and maybe other people can attest this, that from what I understand, like in spirit realm, they've understood, they've known for a long time that these things were going to begin to happen on the planet. And it's almost like the dark, again, I just refer to it that way, not in a labeling or judgmental kind of way. If it were fabric, is starting to fold in on itself. And so as it does, it begins to kind of collapse on its own, and we don't need to stand right in it. We don't need to stand in the shadow of it. Come stand where it feels good, right? So if it means going for lots of walks, if it means taking days off work, if it means having fasts, if it means meditating or prayer, anything that allows us to feel good while this crap begins to collapse, right? Knowing that there's this wave that's bringing us to as you put it, the new earth, like a higher vibrational place, right? And it's riding that wave too.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to add, because I think it's important to know that, like, although, these end times or whatever, it's like the darkness looks very pronounced, it looks very big, it looks very scary. And like, Katya says this in a lot of her teachings as well, is like the energy source that was like feeding them has been unplugged. It's no longer available for them. So that energy source has been cut off. And now what we're seeing is just that collapse and that crumble, because they don't have that sustenance anymore. And that's just where we're at in this cycle on the planet, right? It's just like, this is, like you said, we've all known that this was coming, that this was going to happen. And we all chose to participate in the transitional phase of this time. And that's basically what this is, right? It is a transitional phase. And so it is, they always say, like, the darkest night is before the dawn, or the darkest hour or whatever is before the dawn, right? And so I feel like that's really what we're experiencing right now. We're seeing that thrashing and that attempt at, like, the last ditch efforts, although it's already a failed thing. So where we're going is inevitable. So keeping that in mind, to have that faith, right? Like, where we're going is inevitable. And that's why we're seeing this darkness come to the surface, all these internal triggers and traumas and, nervous system challenges and all of these things. Like, they have to come to the surface, because we're literally changing the fabric of our systems, right? Our DNA structure is changing and everything. And like, that density, that darkness is not really able to reside there anymore. And that's, like we're saying too, like, that's a micro macro thing. So that's happening within us and without on the planet at the same time, simultaneously. So does anyone want to share more about that, or do we want to kind of go into, like, Katya? Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, just acknowledging that you want to move forward.
It's okay.
I'll
I'd love
try
to
and
hear
make
what you
this
have to
quick.
say. Yeah.
Make this really quick.
No.
You brought up so many good points about if you don't have community, find one. There's people out there, and just be discerning. And of course, this is speaking to the viewers who are watching. Just be discerning and notice how you feel, because just because you found somebody who's maybe sharing part of an experience, it doesn't necessarily mean you stop there. Keep yourself open. And if you need to rest, I played this game with myself the other day. I was exhausted, knowing full well that my body was saying, it's time to lay down. It's time to rest, like Tara was mentioning in the beginning. And when we push ourselves through those periods, especially now, especially when emotionally and the things we are witnessing are heavy, it just makes it feel like you just don't want to do it anymore. So be good to yourself, and literally sleep when you need to, and be good to yourself when you need to. But there is something that happens when you rest. If you take a nap in the middle of the afternoon because you just can't keep your eyes open, There are things that are being rewired in the brain right now, cellularly, DNA, but especially in those neural pathways that allow us to cope better. And a lot of these things are activated or integrated rather through sleep cycles. So if you feel like you need to sleep, take a nap, set it for 20, 30 minutes and just give yourself the space. And just the other thing is that it will get better, like Emily's saying. It is inevitable. We are on a timeline and there's not going to be delays, so to speak. It is a case where just hang in there because it's all going to come to a really positive head in shorter order than it may feel like. And just remembering too that as crazy as it may sound to say this, it is just a game. And so the heavier it feels is our indication that we are just in that moment lost in the drama. And so a few of you had said this, the ladies here, that it's that soul perspective, that higher perspective, the perspective that is not lost in the human drama, that if we can get ourselves there, and there's so many teachers and resources that can bring us there, but in that place, we can access that neutrality a little bit more. And I just find that that perspective brings us all peace. So whatever you need to do, whoever you need to speak to or seek to find out what is that perspective, how would the soul see what's going on, which is it's not judging. It's like, okay, amazing. We are right on track. Look at the mess we've created. We've stirred it all up so we can skim my grandmother used to call it scum off the top of the soup when you're letting things boil. But yeah, we are so almost there. And I, for myself, offer one last thing, but I do this all the time. Just laugh at it. It doesn't have to be so serious. And in the seriousness, it gets heavier. But sometimes just laughing at how absolutely ridiculous things are could be the best medicine in the moment. But thank you for just allowing me to share that.
Yeah, so true. Vanessa, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to, it's like a dovetail off of what everyone's saying here, but a couple practical things that I have kind of received in terms of guidance, and I just want to share with the viewers too, and anyone wants to take it who's listening. It's kind of right off of what Katya's saying too, so it's perfect. You know, what's happening in the world right now can feel like a real dream killer. And I've said this in some of my posts that I've written, you know, it can very much look like there's this bleak reality that's setting in. And, you know, the more that we're consuming that frequency from whatever source it is, whatever side it's on, quote unquote, right? It really has the potential to kill the dreams that you have around your life, around your future. And so one of the antidotes that I've found, and working with the Pleiadians for several years, they're really, really about just bringing this home all the time. You have to come back to your present and find the joy. Find your joy, the simplest little things. And I know it sounds so cliche to say that, but it really is actually so important that we find the things, whether it's as simple as, you know, going for the walk or baking or playing with your dogs, being so fully immersed in that moment, because it's in this space of joy where, as Jaya was saying, right, like this constriction can't be found in there. When you're present and you're in joy, you're in this expansive energy. And what comes in? Inspiration, solutions, new ideas, creativity. It's not found in that contracted place. So I want to just, you know, really encourage and invite people to just spend some time, make a list even of the things that bring you joy. What brings contentment and peace and joy, so that you can spend some more time in that space, even if it's 5 minutes. You know, it is contributing to something, because it's going to stop you from placing your focus on the energy that wants to sap, you know, and zap all of that life force and your empowerment and your creativity. The other thing that was a really interesting kind of analogy they gave in a channeling session a few weeks ago for a client is, you know, the collective consciousness and unconsciousness is like this grid around the planet, and the powers that be who've been kind of, you know, creating a lot of this darkness, if you will, like the powers that have been controlling the planet, if you want to look at it that way, have infused frequencies in that grid. And for most of us, if you want to look at it, I liken this to, being in an airplane, right? When you get above the clouds, you're above the 10,000 feet, right? You're at 20 or 30,000 feet. Well, in that collective consciousness around the planet is where all of the emotions, our thoughts, our belief systems, our fears, and that grid is every day is blasted with certain frequencies. And most people stay in 10,000 feet or below. They're constantly kind of energetically, okay, dancing between this 10,000 and below, and they get stuck there. And when you get stuck there, you don't have access to the higher parts of yourself. You don't have access to God. You don't have access to source. So the Pleiadians are really instructing, like, in your meditation, spend some time almost seeing like your energy lifting out of the heaviness in the dense 3D, reality we're in the body, and start to move above, like see yourself almost elevating and connecting to these higher parts of yourself, to God, to your I am presence, to your higher self. Spend more time there, especially when you feel down, because that's going to start to elevate your frequency, and you're going to get some more specific, guidance and information about your path. So I just wanted to quickly share these two pieces. And I agree with what everyone's saying. It's just like, yes, I'm just like, so good. It's so juicy. But these are a couple little practical things that you can bring home into your reality and practice on a daily basis, especially if you're really feeling that weight of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for sharing that. I was smiling because I was driving the other day and I was just like, I was having a conversation with my higher self or my guides, and they were saying like, just do the things that bring you joy. And I was like, well, nothing brings me joy. And they're like, okay, well, let's think about that, and like, okay, so I started to think, oh, like playing with my dog, walking my dog, going out in nature, connecting to God, having beautiful conversations with sisters and stuff like that. And so we can start to, like you're saying, like bring in that higher vibrational energy when there is that like really kind of heaviness that's coming in. So thanks for sharing that. That was perfect. Okay, I think there's one other thing. So I was just wondering, like, I'd love to just kind of wrap things up with everyone saying one little bit about like how you envision or what you feel, what you see for, our future and the new earth and how the new earth looks like. Just our, like, let's imprint this field with like our higher visions for the reality that we're all weaving and moving into together, and leave our listeners with some beautiful, visions and our insights about that. So let's start. I'd love, Tara, for you to start, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So I have, from the time I got here in this human body, I have this distinct knowing that we are all here to create bliss, heaven, joy on earth. I came in with that. I remember that. And I feel like we are right here, right now, doing that, exactly that. And so I feel like there's going to be these individual experiences of what that looks like, because we all have these unique flavors and tastes, and we're going to get to create it all. And we're going to get to see each other in each other's bliss bubbles, and we're going to get to maybe play in each other's bliss bubbles. And then we're going to have these collective bliss bubbles that we all get to go play and meet up in. And I feel like, we're already living it. This is the interesting thing. So when people talk about, how do we get to 5D? I can honestly say, like, and I've gone in and out, but I can honestly say, like, we're living that right now 80% of the time in our bubble, because we're consciously creating that right now. So I'm finding the more I move through whatever the density is, and it gets faster, the density sticks less and less and less and less. So we're elevating quicker and quicker because we're having more fun with it. We're playing, we're not taking it too seriously, like everybody was saying today, and really being able to consciously look at what's my part to play in this. So what I've been saying to people is, whatever your trigger is, that's your growth point, because there's so much splayed out in front of us right now. And so how do we move into that? You let the triggers come, you let yourself grow through whatever that trigger is, take personal responsibility. You might not see it as, oh, well, I created that over there, but there could be something in here. And the moment that I release that and I just take responsibility and I forgive it and I say, you know what, it's okay. I love you. We're going to neutralize that energy. And then I'm going to recreate. So what's the beauty I can bring to this? What's the joy I can bring to this? What's the heaven, bliss on earth experience I can bring to this? And unplug from that other matrix, unplug from the fear, unplug from the anxiety, unplug from the worry, unplug from the density and say, I get to choose. So in this moment, I can still feel all the feels, and I'm going to choose to be in it maybe 6 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 1. And especially having kids, like I really can't stay. I cannot afford to energetically stay in those low points for too long because I got little ones who need me and they need me to be on, you know? And so, and that's been a really cool learning for me because I'm like, oh, I can easily ride through these waves. And as I ride through them, there's these points of, and bliss is different for everybody. This is what I've learned too, because Gabriel and I describe bliss very differently. You know, the kids describe joy very differently. And it's all in reference to who we are and where we're at. And that's beautiful. And I feel like that's part of that unity piece. So what I keep seeing and feeling in and around us, and it is, we're already in these higher frequencies. We're grounding them already. It's now about stabilizing them. And so being in them so often and so frequently, knowing that, you know, we're still navigating, we're helping other people navigate these waves, and it's okay. And I can come back to home, and that bliss and joy and home and creator energy and source energy and cosmic energy is all right here. It's not, I have to go somewhere. I'm not going anywhere. I came here with that code, that remembrance. I came here, Gabriel too. He remembers where he came from. And he remembered in the moment saying, I'm going to anchor it on the earth. And I remember that too, that it wasn't that I was going to go, I was going to exit somewhere to go do that. I was here to do that and to experience it. And I'm so excited because I feel like the more people get in tune with that and consciously unplug from the stuff that's like, yeah, that doesn't feel good. That's not in alignment with me. That doesn't resonate with me. That's too much conflict. That doesn't honor me. That doesn't honor you. I choose not that. So then what do I choose? We're starting to really become these powerful, conscious co-creators. And then we get to play, and then we get to experience. So it's like, I can look at all of you and everyone in the world and be like, whoa, like, what are all of you creating? And can we experience that together? Can we share in that joy, and can we share in that bliss and really be in that cohesive, collaborative, connected space, which feels so beautiful, and it feels so loving, and it feels so expansive. And I think I'm seeing it, we're feeling it, we're seeing it more and more and more and more and more, and more people are starting, it's like starting to come together more and more and more and more. And so now it's really just about anchoring that. We're sifting still a little bit, you know, we're sifting and we're anchoring at the same time. And it's, I'm so excited. Every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I can feel the simultaneous, you know, like all the, you know, the highs and lows of it. And then I'm like, but I still feel so excited. I'm excited because what's falling, it has to fall. It has to go. And that'll shake us and rattle us and stir us and move us and cause us to question all sorts of things. That's great. That is fantastic. That's what we need to do, so that we come back to ourselves and we go, okay, so what do I want to create? I want the sun to shine today. Okay, let's go have a conversation with the sunshine, you know, or whatever it is. Like let's create some bliss. Let's create some joy. And I don't even have all the words for it. It's a feeling. So I'm hoping you guys are like feeling the feeling, because it is so incredibly joyful and flowing and abundant, where everyone is taken care of. Our needs are taken care of, and not by, it has to come from outside. It's not external. It's all being generated from this internal field and feeling and state and joy. And then we get to amplify and magnify with each other because we're sharing in that field. And it's like, you know, it's so fun. It is so fun to play in that space. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I feel
You're
all of
welcome.
that. And for me, like just tuning into that, it's like the sunshine. It's like, I just feel that the rays of the sun just blasting out and nourishing us and warming us. And yeah, it just feels, yeah, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Tara. All right. Anyone else want to go next, or who wants to go next? Actually, I'll go. Yeah. So I'll go the opposite way that I started. So Katya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Tara. So much resonance and such a beautiful way to express and articulate that. Thank you, sister. um, Definitely feeling the same way, that it's a very unique kind of experience. But there's like a common thread, I feel, that we will all be accessing this feeling of peace, this essence of joy and freedom. Freedom is just like something big that comes in so strongly for me. And yes, agreeing completely that it's going to, I think, as we are on this path and to really anchoring it, as Tara was describing, is this realization that it is not outside of us, and that it is not something that we're actually creating so much as revealing itself, right? Because as we go along, as we are impacted by current events, and then a trigger happens and we clear something, release something, transmute something, there is less that's standing in the way of those programs or beliefs, or just the energetic density that is keeping us from being able to see what's already there, because it's not in vibrational range yet for us to be able to access. And it's kind of like a video game. So it's a choice point we make. Do we want to, as Tara was describing it, unplugging from the old template? Excuse me if I'm not paraphrasing correctly, but it's a choice point we make, and the choices will get easier and easier the more we kind of flex that muscle of new choices. But if we are choosing to look at life in a more, limited, restricted way, that's how the video game will unfold before us. Those first person games where anywhere you point the person, as you turn the corner, nothing exists there. It's a holographic experience, but the landscape starts to generate on the hillside. People start appearing on the sides. It's the same thing for us, right? It's a holographic reality. So if we choose to keep going back to the view that we want, which is where we're headed, right? Into this experience of no competition, no judgment, no expectations, flowing, allowing that joy in, and no comparison. Like, these are the things that will start to fall away. So what I wanted to offer is, as opposed to painting what it will be like or would be like, what it won't be. So all of those things that we're so used to will no longer be part of our experience. And I know for myself, as I've been on this path, feeling those things falling away, the self-judgment, the chatter in the mind, not so much criticism, more observation, more celebrating. I think, like what Tara was saying, like, wow, look what you're doing, as opposed to seeing when somebody else is doing something, or seeing a post on social media. When more of that density is active, it's like, oh, I should be doing that. Why didn't I do that? What's wrong with me? Imagine if all of that didn't exist. If there weren't those thoughts, and you just saw things that were unfolding, going, wow, how cool, or oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. This like celebration energy and frequency, I would say, is something that I feel really strongly coming through, where there's less of the comparison, less of the focus on the separation, the illusion, right, between I'm me and you're you, and just recognizing that, wow, we are all in this together, more tightly knit than we really ever imagined. And this constant celebration, bouncing off each other in collaboration, and just joy and fun. So if I could offer that, that would definitely, that's kind of how I see it, as things falling away. And in doing so, 5D is already here, right? It's Gaia's resonating in 5D. We will just have less and less access to that denser, heavier, less enjoyable experience of being human as we move forward. So I'm super, super excited about it. And yes, I look around and say, oh my God, this is amazing. Because the faster things crumble, it sometimes feels like maybe you're ripping off a Band-Aid, but my God, when the dust settles, oh Lord, when everything opens up and we go through this like eye of the needle, there's gonna be, what happens when you pull a slingshot back, right? A lot of tension, a lot of resistance. When you let that thing go, it's just like freedom. Everybody's going to
Yeah.
have these big open hearts because the frequencies have been forcing it, because the work they've been doing or had to do. And we're just gonna be like, oh my God, where's the next event? And we're all just showing up and like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long. I don't notice that you put on 20 pounds because I did too. We're not going to care. You know, I just really feel this is on the horizon. Speaking from a 20-pounder edition, yes, but I hope you get that. I'll end it there.
Oh, thanks, Katya. That was so great. Yes. Oh, that feels good too. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Jaya?
Yeah, I love it. So not too much to add. Again, from experience, what I've been practicing is oh God, I wallowed so much in 2021. So I've been playing in the quantum with like, and I get that it's here now, but like, okay, so what do I want to see in my life, in the world? What do I desire? What feels pleasurable? What like, and so getting really clear on like what I desire, what I want to see, and how does it feel? And then feeling those feelings. So anytime I start to like wallow or like it feels like a going back, or focusing on the past or an old identity or relationship or whatever it is back here, I'm like stopping myself, and in a loving, gentle way, not a you're doing it wrong, like oh, wait, we're going here, we're here, this is what's real, this is the reality we're choosing. And I'm actually still playing with, just to offer if somebody wants to try this out, I'm still playing with like, okay, I think I want like a sentence or a word that like quickly snaps me out of it. That's sort of what I've been playing with. It's like, okay, where are we going? What do we want to create? What do we want to see? How do we want it to feel? And when you sort of catch yourself back here or in the wallowing, it's like, no, this is the truth. This is it. This is real. So that's yeah, that's kind of what I'm playing with, and it does feel really exciting, and it does feel really good. So I think the more we can stay in that, then it gets easier to navigate whatever shows up.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Important piece. Thanks. Amanda.
Piggyback off Katya, because that's how I was kind of shown, is the dust settling, cleaning up. The cleaning up is going to happen this year. But people have been broken down, right? And I see us or whoever who didn't get caught in the illusion really taking the presence, because the dark had taken the greater presence, and helping these people build themselves up. I see a lot of healing really quickly. Like I feel like for us, it was like such a process to finding out who we are. And I'm actually seeing like these plugins of like instantaneous rememberings of who they are, not on a physical level. I'm a doctor, it's like we're divine beings. We have a mission. We're here on purpose. I see that being really instantaneous, which doesn't seem fair. But I'm honored, right? I'm honored. And it doesn't mean they're not going to have other additional healing work. I just feel like we're going to be able to coexist a lot easier with them having a higher perspective. And I see children being a great presence in this new earth. Like, they have wisdom for us. Like, we think we know, it's like we always need to go to these children and learn from them. I see them being a big part of the new earth. And yeah, the new resources coming together in community, living our lives the way we want to live them, not the way that we're told we should, or working really hard and all this consumption. And I see that not being a thing, and new resources coming in, growing our own food again, and not being such thing as organic food. I mean, I know that will take time, where everything, there's no organic and non-organic. I know that will take time. but I do see that.
Mm,
Yeah. Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rose?
I liked what Amanda said. New Earth visions, the crumbling of all the structures based on corruption, fear, greed, lack is what we're seeing, and building structures based on love and freedom. That's the simple version of it. Schools, banking systems, government systems, everything is getting reworked and rewired as people make decisions from their heart instead of fear. Ultimately is what will create the path, because following your heart is the way, is God's way, and God's way of pushing you towards what is wholesome. And we each have the choice point throughout our days, how we show up and who we interact with and what we say yes to and what we say no to. That's the micro of it. And as everybody awakens to the truth of who they are and how powerful they are to trust their intuition over the programming that they've received through these devices and school systems, and the corruption, once they wake up to that, they'll start to open up to their heart more. And I believe that we will see in this year more and more disclosure as the narrative crumbles, and people will have their awakenings in that pain point. Like we all came to our own awakenings in a certain pain point in our life. There will be that momentum cannot be stopped. And that's where we're at right now in this beautiful moment in time.
Perfectly said. Yeah. I actually just want to share one thing. When I was tuning into the 2022 year, I don't know, I just kind of do this at the beginning of every year. The image that I got was like people's heads being held like this, like you have to see this, you have to look at this, and people be like, no, I don't want to look, like closing their eyes, but then like spirit be like, no, like you have to look at this, and like holding their eyes open, like, no, you have to see this. And yeah, so that's kind of an interesting vision and feeling for the year. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that all unfolds. So thank you for bringing that up. Vanessa?
Yeah, I have so many similar sentiments to what everyone's shared here, but I was shown a vision. It's less about, where we are now, and yes, to the, we're creating the reality through our focus and our intentions and where we place our time and our energy on every day, and the collapsing of the old. I was shown a vision not too long ago. I'm just going to kind of tune into it and just share from the frequency. And it just felt like this energy that that's been our reality as human beings, like this way of us operating and how we feel in our bodies and how it feels even in the air. This energy that has been just kind of placed on us. This vision I see and what I feel in it is that's gone. It's almost like when you're talking about the sun, Emily, and like the light, Tara, like that's exactly what I was shown. There's this lightness like we've never felt before. And it actually almost feels like it's been the removal of all of the density and the corrupt systems and, all the programming and the conditioning. And I see people's needs fully met. Like there is no more of this, I'm in lack, I'm in poverty, I don't have enough to eat. Like we're returning to the land. Like the earth actually feels so happy and joyful in union with us. And there's just this real sense of, and this is just such an important value, and just like divine integrity, like integrity to our divine selves and our divine plans. There's a real like celebration of people's self-expression, like their unique essence and expressions are felt and supported, and people are receiving that. It's not like, well, that's not needed because that's not the trend right now. It's you are needed. You have a unique part to this puzzle, and everyone fully owns that, and they're connecting to that. Healing work and the technologies, like these more spiritual technologies and extraterrestrial technologies are going to be used for good. It's not going to be used in a manipulative way, in a way to disempower people. And I really just see people in this beautiful like connection to source and to their gifts and to knowing who they are. I know these are a lot of things we've kind of repeated, but there just is this real, I'll leave it at this. It's almost as though this whole system we've been in, this biological computer, if you will, has been manipulated for thousands of years. And we think that this is the human experience that we've been supposed to experience, but it actually isn't. And we finally have all these codes and the returning of who we actually are and the real. Like, so I'm not saying that what we're having is not real and that this is not important. It's been serving us, it's necessary, needed, but it's almost like we're returning back, like the feeling and the vision I see of, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like being in a third dimensional human experience in this higher kind of consciousness, but it's not even going to be related to in that way. It's like, it just is,
Yeah.
you know, and just a real joy in being present, not feeling like we have to control this or that in the future. It's like, it's just, everything is just so abundantly met and in all ways. The vision's so beautiful. I wish I could just telepathically transport it to everyone, because it just really, when I see that and when I feel that, it just makes my heart just sing. It just makes it just open. So I feel like I want to just reiterate, the light is, as cliche as this is, the light's winning and the light will win and God wins and that plan will win. There will be that on earth. We just have to be very responsible and accountable day to day to ourselves, to our growth, to our evolution, and to where we're placing our focus and our attention and energy and time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really felt that. And yeah, that is translating in like a multi-dimensional way, that vision. So thank you. Oh, all right. Last but not least, Rachel.
Thank you, everyone. Oh my gosh. So amazing. Everything everybody said has been just so amazing. New Earth, I mean, you've said it already before, it's not a place, right? It's here. It's a way of being. It's us being our godliness, I guess you could say, us being our highest self. And in that, there's a lot rooted in love and harmony and unity, but also creating. I just feel so much energy in creating in a sense of like soul expression, right? This beautiful creating and expressing the soul, and people coming together in ways like this collaborating, but almost like coming together, linking arms, one heart, one intention, one love. And somebody else, I can't remember who, said the falling away of competition. And I've been feeling that too, where it's like we come together and it's just like we're rising together, right? So it's like we're here together. It's not about like, oh, I need to do that and I'm jealous she said that first, or she's got this program and I don't have it, or she makes more money. So all of that's washing away. So really it's a way of being, right? It's a way of being our most godly self is the only way I can really describe it. And in that, and I love what Vanessa was saying about, transporting this image of like, growing your own food and like the earth being happy. And I see that too, just like, wholesome foods that haven't been polluted and not having to label organic or not organic. It's just is, right? It's just love and all refused with love and respect. And whoever said divine integrity, yes. So all of that. So thank you so much. That was amazing, Emily.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's like going back to our organic nature, like the divine blueprint, restoring the divine blueprint on the planet within ourselves. And yeah, that seems to be what we're all up to. So thank you everyone so much for sharing that, all your beautiful words of wisdom and insights and personal experiences and everything. Really, really appreciative of all of you doing the work on the planet, just what you're all about, who you are. And thank you for imprinting and expressing those beautiful visions into this field. I really feel all of that, and it's just, yeah, it's so gorgeous. I want to say thank you for saying yes and coming together today and making the time. And also to anyone watching, if you're interested in connecting with any of the beautiful women on the call today, I know everyone has beautiful programs. There's coaching, there's mentorship programs, there's the academies, and lots of beautiful tools and techniques to learn to support you going through this process as we do this lovely transition. So I'm going to put all of that into the copy of this video. So if you want to reach out to any of them and look more into the work that everyone's doing, please do. Basically, yeah, we're just here in service to support this transition in the best way possible. And yeah, I invite everyone to connect if you feel inspired to. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we shall see you again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.